Let me tell you something real. Something that might just save your freedom. You see, there are three kinds of people sitting in prison cells across this country right now. First, you got the ones who intentionally committed crimes. No debate there. They knew exactly what they were doing, they got caught, and they're doing time. Second, there are people who did break the law, but whose sentences far outweigh the offense. We're talking about someone who may have made a mistake, and then they paid with decades of their life. And then there's the third group, the most forgotten, the most politically inconvenient, the ones who are innocent of any criminal intent, the ones who had no idea that they were even involved in a crime, the ones who are serving federal time not because of what they did, but because of who they knew, where they were, or what someone else said about them. Now that third group, that's who this series is about. You see, lawmakers know this happens. Prosecutors know it too. But fixing it, that's another story. Because in America, appearing tough on crime wins elections. Talking about innocent people in prison, that costs votes. So what happens? Nothing. The truth is buried. The stories are ignored. The suffering continues. That's why I'm here. That's why this series is here. This is Guilty by Association, The Hidden Trap. I'm your host. I've lived this, and I'm here to tell you what no one else will. Today's episode, The Unwitting Conspirator, how it happens. Let's get into it. Now, what is a conspiracy charge? In federal law, a conspiracy charge doesn't require you to actually commit a crime. All it takes is an agreement between two or more people to commit a crime, for one of them to take an action towards completing it. For example, two people are standing on the corner. A third party walks past them with something flashy on their wrist. The first person asks the second, "You want that guy's watch?" And the second responds, "Yep." As a result, the first actor grabs a weapon and takes a single step towards approaching the would-be victim. These two are guilty of conspiracy. They made an agreement to do something illegal, and one of the parties took action towards completing it. Did you notice that I didn't say that anyone was actually robbed? To be guilty of a conspiracy, it doesn't even matter. It's the agreement and the overt act, not necessarily the completion of the agreement, that constitutes a conspiracy. So, if two undercover federal officers were in earshot of the conversation and witnessed the overt act and arrested both of them, they would be charged with conspiracy. Here's the shocking part. First, whenever any party to the conspiracy does anything in furtherance of that conspiracy, all of the parties to the conspiracy are treated as if they committed the act. And we'll discuss this in depth later. Second, you don't even have to know all of the details of the crime. You don't even have to know everyone involved. You could be linked to someone else's actions, and if the government can draw a line from you to them, you can be charged as a co-conspirator. This is how unwitting conspirators are born. People with no criminal intent, no criminal record, and no clue that they were even involved in anything illegal, yet they're facing felony charges. Now, let's talk about how innocent people get roped in. Let's say your friend asks you to drive him somewhere, and you do it. Later it turns out he made a drug deal at that location, and he's being watched by the feds. Now, the government is going to say that you facilitated the transaction. Or maybe you work for someone who's committing fraud. You're handling paperwork, cashing checks, or making deliveries, thinking it's a legit job. You don't ask any questions. But when the feds come in, they'll say that you were part of the fraud because your actions helped it succeed. These scenarios happen every day. And here's what the average person doesn't know. Intent is not always required to be convicted. Prosecutors only have to convince a jury that you knew or should have known that illegal activity was happening. Are you surprised? You should be. Here's why the federal government loves conspiracy charges. They're broad, they're flexible, and they're powerful. They allow prosecutors to lump multiple people into one indictment. Instead of proving that each person committed the full crime, they only need to show that they played a part, even a minor one. You become guilty by association. This legal strategy creates tremendous pressure to plead guilty, especially when you're facing 10, 15, even 20 years if convicted at trial. And so, thousands of people every year, many of them low-level or peripheral, accept plea deals, even when they believe they've done nothing wrong. So here's a disturbing fact. Some people have been convicted of conspiracy without ever touching drugs, guns, or money. You could be charged just for being present during a conversation, introducing two people, giving someone a ride, or even sending a text message. Yep, you heard that right. Even a text message that prosecutors interpret as supportive of a crime, even if you didn't know a crime was being planned, can and will be used against you. And here's where things get even more dangerous. The people who actually commit the crime may testify against you in exchange for shorter sentences. Their incentive? Blame someone else to save themselves. It happens every day. So why should this concern you? And what needs to change? This isn't really a legal problem. It's a moral one. We're locking up people based on association, proximity, or suspicion, not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The conspiracy statute is being used as a net, not a scalpel. And in that net are people who are young, poor, undereducated, overeducated, or simply naive. People who trusted the wrong person. People like me, and maybe people like you. What needs to change? We need tighter definitions on what constitutes conspiracy. Judicial oversight of plea deals and prosecutorial overreach. Mandatory evidence of intent, not just participation. And public awareness. So you, your kids, your loved ones know the risks before it's too late. Now, let's bring this home. Let's have a little fun, but pay attention, because what starts as a joke can land real people in real prison cells. Meet Anna and Bob, partners in petty crime and masterminds behind the greatest bubblegum heist known to man. Anna and Bob agree to hit a local convenience store. Their plan? Anna will create a distraction, and Bob will stuff his coat pockets with every flavor of bubblegum on the rack. But Anna takes it a step further. Without telling Bob, she contacts Chris, a local tailor, and says, "Hey, can you make a jacket? Large size, with a ton of hidden pockets inside?" Chris, a master of the stitch, takes the job. He doesn't ask any questions. He just sews the jacket, collects his money, and gets on with his day. Then, Anna hits up Darlene, her cousin. "Hey, can you give me and Bob a ride to the convenience store on Saturday morning? Just hang tight for a few minutes while we grab something real quick, then drop us back home." Darlene, being the nice cousin that she is, agrees. Now, the heist goes down. Anna distracts the clerk. Bob loads up on the bubblegum using the special jacket. They run out, jump into Darlene's car, and vanish into the suburban afternoon. Here's the million-dollar question. Who are the conspirators? Who are the unwitting conspirators? Let's break it down. Anna and Bob, 100% conspirators. They agreed to commit the crime. They each took action to make it happen. That's your classic conspiracy. Now, Chris the tailor, that's an unwitting conspirator, possibly. If prosecutors can convince a jury that he should have known or turned a blind eye, which they call willful blindness, to what the jacket would be used for, they would argue that he played a role, even if he had no criminal intent. Surprised? That's conspiracy law. Darlene, the driver, another potential unwitting conspirator. Even if she had no idea about the heist, prosecutors could say her driving was an overt act that helped the conspiracy succeed. If she drove them away afterward, she could also be accused of aiding and abetting. You see how dangerous this gets? Now here's the twist. In the real world, Chris and Darlene could be indicted in federal court. Their lives flipped upside down, jobs lost, reputations ruined, facing the same charges as Anna and Bobby. Why? Because the prosecutors don't have to prove intent, just participation or assistance. This is why conspiracy law is so dangerous. It's not about what you knew, it's what they can convince a jury you should have known. Innocent people, like Chris and Darlene, become unwitting conspirators, paying the same price as those who orchestrated the crime. And this is exactly what happens in real cases every day. People helping with small favors who never imagined that they were aiding a crime end up indicted, convicted, and imprisoned. The law is supposed to punish the guilty, not trap the unsuspecting. That's why we need reform. If this episode opened your eyes, then like and share the video to your family, your friends, and talk about it. I encourage everyone to do their own research. Ask your lawmakers what they're doing to reform federal conspiracy laws, and subscribe to this page, because in this series, we're pulling back the curtain on the justice system, one truth at a time. Please join us for our next video, which will be entitled The Plea Trap: Why Innocent People Plead Guilty. This is Guilty by Association, The Hidden Trap. I'm your host, I've lived it, and I'm here to make sure that it doesn't happen to you. Straight like that.